Here today with
Marcos Melchor. Marcos Melchor.
All right. And what instrument do you primarily play?
My most expressive is saxophone, but I like to create and compose on keyboards,
Okay.
piano.
And is it tenor saxophone primarily? You also have some other. You have like
everything but the bari and the soprano for right now.
Okay.
Everything but.
Okay.
And the big bari bass sax.
So what does that include for those who aren't that familiar with saxophone?
An alto.
An alto.
Is E flat, and the tenor is the B flat,
Mm-hmm.
and then I have a C melody.
C melody.
C melody is. They say it's kind of wacky, but instead of using a C melody mouthpiece, I use an old E flat Paris, Summer Paris 5-star on the C melody, and pull out the mouthpiece to get more of an edge, because it does have like an old timey sound because it's from 1914. So you have to like pull it out to make it sound, I don't know, 8440 or get in tune with other musicians. It's kind of a challenge, but I learned using a totally different mouthpiece, like putting a different muffler on the car. It worked out pretty cool.
Okay. And so I remember like the first time I met you must have been like 15, 20 years ago over at what used to be called the Mausoleum, now the Avant-Garden.
Oh, yeah.
So how long have you been playing in the Houston area music scene?
Let's see. I guess the first time was probably around when the Rockets were winning the first championships.
Okay.
Early, middle 90s, the old millennium. There was this place called Billy Blues, where they got that big old blues saxophone. I think they're supposed to move that saxophone somewhere towards U of H somewhere, I heard. Anyway, and I don't know, I always was intrigued. Hey, like it's a big old, 20-foot saxophone. So I went in there, and yeah, they were playing, I guess, blues at the time.
Uh-huh.
And in particular, there was this one fella, his name was Bruce Milliton, plays saxophone. I think he played with the Ocean of Soul or one of the TSU bands. Chris Tornado was one of those guys. He's the one that invited me on stage, just like right off the cuff. He's like, come on. I was, all right. And then so I've been like that, open to other people. Like there's always just like, hey, so, come on aboard. You want to come on and just try it or chop or whatever.
Uh-huh.
So it was really there in Billy Blues where I kind of cut my teeth and learned sound with the microphone and speakers and stuff like that. That's why I started out, cut my teeth in Houston. And then from there, all the way from, Galveston, or even before that, through music in the schools, high school and middle school, I've traveled, with in-state, out-of-state, East Coast, West Coast, whatever, through music primarily. So that was pretty neat. Traveling. Where I grew up in South Houston, I was like, I'm not gonna really go anywhere. But luckily through music, I was able to travel from different places. I never thought I would.
I know you're known as kind of like an avant-garde approach to music, even though it's traditional sounds. So the question I'm wondering is, how do you practice? Like, what are you like? The type? Are you running out of scales at this point in your career, or where do you pull the sounds, like the solos that you come up with?
Quiet now, but I haven't taught in like 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
And like my student now, just whatever Star Wars Jedi thing. Close your eyes. And what do you hear?
Mm-hmm.
The truck turning on, the birds, the train earlier. So, and I've been telling Ivan, this was a tuba player we're playing with downtown.
Mm-hmm.
We just listen to the sounds of the streets. They say, just
right.
listen to what's around you, and pull that energy, and whatever. I'll just hear that bird, or just hear this tone, boom, boom, and play for that for like 2 hours, endlessly, in minor, major, or whatever feeling or no feeling, or just space, sound. That's what I want to do. But then if I have to learn something, I call it I said it earlier, it was Simon Says. Simon Says play this, Simon Says don't play this. When I listen back to songs or stuff that I have to repeat, that's pretty much what it is. A Simon Says kind of mentality. Sometimes it's rare when you get to play whatever you feel, or accident.
Yep.
Or coincidence, or
Right.
Oh yeah.
All right. And we got behind you. This is one of your longtime running mates here, right?
This Teo. This is
all right.
Over here.
How you doing, Teo? We're doing a little interview on Marcos and his music, like his approach to music. So when did you meet Marcos, Teo?
Oh, me? I met Marcos in about, 2001, around there. Playing with the Joseph Jackson Trio, and we added him on saxophone. That's the first time. I'd heard about him playing with Free Radicals, but I hadn't really got a chance to see the man, because back in those days I was playing like 6 nights a week. And then Joe had him come sit in with us with our trio. Just, take it to another level.
Yeah. All right. And you all still play today? Y'all still play regularly, right?
Yeah, oh yeah. Me and Marcos are playing all the time.
So what are some of the current projects y'all are working on?
Our main project is called the Cosmic Cats.
The cat just walked by. See that?
Cosmic Cats is kind of... I'm trying to bridge... This is what you call it, cosmics. I'm trying to bring all the cosmos together, right? And like try to enter that into the music, and what it's trying to bridge the past, the future, the present. So like we'll take old songs and play them with a new beat, or take new songs and play them with an old beat. And since I play upright bass and not that many people see it that much anymore, and he plays sax, kind of lends itself to also more jazzy kind of thing. But I also want to have other influences, try to connect with the public first, draw them in, and then take it to another like cosmic level where we're infusing different influences in the music other than just notes or songs, or trying to play feelings, or just letting loose in the middle of a song and having like a free section that's not pre-rehearsed.
Okay.
And just letting the spirit take us where it takes us.
Right. gig that you're playing out in public, how much is for the audience and how much is for yourself for song selection? You know,
It depends on how long it takes me to get them to be open to because we'll like throw sprinkles of non-normality in the first song, and if they're accepting, then it'll be mostly us feeling each other.
And at some point, does it ever happen where you decide it doesn't matter what the crowd wants anymore? Like, this is what you're gonna get. And is that bad etiquette, like for your approach?
I've seen that happen.
For my approach, well, okay, so I can, in past bands, I can say this, like, sometimes with Free Radicals, we were definitely too out there. Like, if we were at a sports bar, and everybody's wanting to watch sports, and we're doing our super artistic stuff, like, yeah, there's not a shot, and I've done that where, like, we even on one tour, if we had a gig like that, we would start playing what we called punishment jam if they were complaining, and, like, we could even, like, maximum what annoyed them. And you know, so yeah, I've been on that end of the spectrum too. Me personally, I'm gonna get called back, so I will still attempt to, with my project, bring them in because I'm able to play like a groove that makes people want to dance.
Yeah.
So that sometimes is enough to get the most general audience to be down with what you're doing.
What are some of your favorite or most influential bass players or musicians that you've come across, like in
real life?
Yeah, in real life.
Keith Vivens was probably the first
yeah.
dude I met when I was in my teens, and I was working at H&H Music in Sugar Land, and 18 years old, first job out of high school, and Paul Chester was a guitar teacher, and Keith would work with him a lot in the band Stratus. So I'd go, Paul would invite me out, so that's where I first met Keith, and then I would go see them playing with TKO at Munchies. This was like early 90s, mid 90s.
Okay.
And yeah, he was definitely my biggie, and then he, told me about some other cats in town to check out. So I guess the next guy at about that same age, and I started taking lessons from him, was this dude who had just moved from Philly named Bill Miller, who played upright, jazz. Because Keith mostly played, funk and R&B and pop, but it's amazing. Played jazz too, but that was his more electric bass, Marcos Miller style ish. He had his own style, but like the one I would equivalent whatever words. I would say he sounds a lot like Marcus Miller, or he just approaches the instrument similar to him. And then Bill Miller, that dude, doesn't play that much. Was teaching at HEC Westchester at the time, but he was just a monster on both electric and upright, and very original kind of approach with the sound on upright. Like we use reverb and delay and stuff, and had a magnetic pickups on his upright, like an electric bass as opposed to a piezo. So he wasn't trying to sound like he was going for more, like a more modernish sound on upright, and it just would fly like Jocko on upright. Like this dude was sick. Those are my biggest influences, I guess, in town.
When you're growing up, were there people that you like listened to that made you choose? Because the bass is an unusual instrument to choose, especially the upright. Was there something like in your life that made you gravitate towards that, or is it a band assignment? Or
some of my earliest memories of why I like bass in general actually was Bootsy Collins. I remember seeing him on MTV, and he had a star bass with the star headstock. He was wearing star glasses. It was just loud, and I was like, man, that dude is so cool.
Yeah.
And I guess I've always, honestly, just a couple of, funky bass players, man. I always dug that stuff.
Uh-huh.
And I had an aunt who would like mime. She loved music, and she would play records, and she would mime like the different instruments. And when she'd mime the bass line for some reason, it would make me hear it.
People
Even
do
as a
the
little kid.
Yeah. I feel like people do the pucker lips when they like imitate playing the bass.
Yeah,
like
they make the stank face.
Like,
stank face.
Smell what I'm cooking.
Exactly. Getting to playing in the school band, because I'd already had an interest in bass, they suggested bass clef instruments, so I ended up playing the low brass, tuba, trombone, euphonium, baritone horn, and which helped me learn to read bass clef. But at the same time, the trombone teacher, Alvin Lockhart, he said, "Hey man, you hip to Jocko?" And that's the first time I heard, a soloist on bass. My memory. Because you saw Bootsy, and he was mostly playing bass lines.
Right.
A little bit of soloing, but mostly, just funky bass lines. And I heard Jocko playing, Donna Lee, the first track on that, his original solo recording is sick,
Very over. How long have you been playing around, would you say, at this point?
Shoot, I've been playing since I was a teenager. Joined the union when I was still a teenager, so I was playing a lot of, like, big band type events, like Petroleum Club, River Oaks Country Club, the Houstonian Hotel.
What's your favorite residency that you've done over the years? Was there a period, either yourself or like some other group that you would go see? Like, was there ever a favorite, like half a year period? Because we know this stuff doesn't last long.
Yeah,
but where you were just like really satisfied and challenged with the musicians, like either that you were performing with or seeing. Like, have you ever had a period like that?
Well, like you said early on with that Munchies on Sunday nights with TKO.
Okay.
I used to go every week to that, and that was just like exhilarate me, and like watching Keith would get me to go home and practice like my ass off.
Yeah. And what was Munchies? Where was that located?
It was in Montrose, Lower Montrose, like off of Richmond near Dunleavy, close to there. I'm not Mandel maybe.
It's called Instant Karma.
Okay.
Yeah, it got changed. Later it was called Instant Karma.
It's called Coconut something now.
Yeah, it got turned into a Mexican restaurant now.
And what year was that around?
This was
early
90s when I first started going to TKO.
Okay.
And then it became Instant Karma, and they were still playing there when it was Instant Karma until probably the late 90s.
Wow, so how long did they hold that for?
They were there probably 10 years.
10 years?
Yeah.
That's unheard of.
Yeah, it was.
That's great.
Well, those days, the scene was more like that, because honestly, we were going to Saisons too, but it was different bands, but it was a lot of the same people that would rotate at Saisons, but going to see, that was the room, and it was very close to Instant Karma or Munchies.
Who else played in the TKO band?
Oh, let's see, Kelly Dean.
Who was Kelly Dean play?
Played alto and sang.
Okay.
And they went a bunch of funk. They would do the line from what was it, the OJs, where we do 5% jazz and 10% jazz and 90% funky stuff.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of soloing. Every instrumental is soloing. Noe Marmolejo was on trumpet. Who was the band director at University of Houston? Jose Calderon. Jose Calderon, who played with Al Jarreau, was Al Jarreau's last guitarist, was on guitar. Drummer was Chris Axelrod. Before he went to the Army, he was playing in the Marines.
A lot of people say that with him. A lot of people say him.
Yeah, and a lot of David Caceres was also one of the another alto player. Ted Wiglinski on keys. Or no, they had different key players. And yeah, and they would let people, the hottest cats, jazz cats in town would sit in doing the funky stuff.
Yeah.
So anybody could sit in that they knew well. Keith on bass, and he would sing some as well.
How many different songs do you think you play in a year for performances?
Well, in all my projects, or just
Yeah,
this
in all your
project?
projects, because you work with people,
goodness.
right? Like support. But yeah, like what's an estimate of how many songs you would play in
Probably
365?
about 200-ish.
200-ish. Okay.
Or more, depending on
Yeah.
how active I am at the time. Because I'll do a lot of when I play jazz jams. You tend to go through a lot of repertoire,
Mm-hmm.
and that keeps me up with a lot of jazz singers. That's a whole other genre, and then and I play a lot of original, different projects where they write originals and hire me to play bass for them.
Right.
So I'm always constantly learning, people's original material, as well as I'm freelance, so I'll get called to, hey, we need a bass player to play in a 60s doo-wop band. Okay, sure. And I learn all those songs, and or I've done musical theater shows where I've had to memorize like a whole play.
Yeah.
So.
And how many different artists have you done a show with? One show or more in say the last 20 years?
In the last 20 years,
Mm-hmm.
I would say I probably play with about a dozen artists a year on average, if I had to average it out.
Mm-hmm.
Because some years I play with the same people weekly. So, maybe only 3 or 4 projects that I mainly play with that year. But some years I'm freelancing a lot.
Yeah.
I could play with 30 different projects.
Right.
So
And
I would
in,
average it at about a dozen.
okay.
Dozen a year.
And in a busy week, how many, like on a week where you're like, man, that felt good, I'm getting out there working as much as I'd like to, about how many shows or how many hours out is that?
5 days worth of shows would be perfect, ideal for me. I've done 6 in my peak. I was doing 6 days a week, with one of them days, Sunday was a triple, and then I was off on Monday, and then Tuesday through Saturday.
Yeah.
Sometimes doubles on Saturday, sometimes doubles on Fridays. But that was when I was young, and don't think I have the energy for that now.
Right.
Which, maybe if I it worked out more, I would. But 5 days a week would be perfect for me. And maybe like a double on one of those days.
Right.
But 2 days off to have the time to recharge and learn new music. Continue to write, because that's sometimes when I freelance, I don't have a chance to actually write things that my personal music.
Yeah.